Hello, everyone. This is Tremel from Detroit, from the Freeman's Borough lineage, called Freeman. But also, you could refer to FBA or ADOS. I'm here to address some political advocacy, community activists, um, how, several ways how to get resources. That's through business, education, and politics. Not just one, not just two, all three. Full court press. Here we're focusing on the politics because that's the one that my group of people has a culture of forsaking or using the most second grade strategy, and you're competing with high schoolers, 10th graders. What kind of what one thing a second grader could do more better than a 10th grader? Play all day, eat more candy. All right. Fair use, fair use. What about the electoral college? We're going over some rebuttals here. Number one, what about the electoral college? So your vote don't matter. That's for one slot on your ballot sheet. The onus for each vote is on the candidate, not the voter. The candidate comes to your schools and churches begging you for your vote. So on your ballot sheet is always multiple positions: county clerk commissioner, senator, council, city council. There's various positions. There's also a ballot. There's ballot initiatives and proposals at the bottom. So it's always multiple reasons to go vote other than just the presidency. So the, the electoral college excuses, I've heard that so many times, and then people focus on one thing. You still have the governor, still got all these other positions. Also, the electoral college is still based off, even though it is BS, I admit, it's still based off the your votes, the most votes in your state. It's just that the electoral college. So if you Iowa, let's say Iowa got 7 electoral votes, and then Minnesota got 12, and California got 30. So whoever get the most votes in California, then regular votes that you regular U.S. citizens vote, then all 30 of those California votes. So you get 51%. Then that goes. So yeah, so it's still based off the regular votes of the U.S. citizen. That at least that has happened 99% of the time thus far. 99% of the time when a candidate, presidential candidate, get 51%, not 51%, but majority votes in the other presidential candidates from that state, then that state has that candidate has received all of those predetermined electoral votes for that state. All right, so still based on. Number two, you need 220. That number may not be exact. It might be 218, maybe 238, but whatever that already number is, you need 220 congressional votes to pass a bill. Okay, well, how did anything get passed? Chattel slavery. How did that end? Jim Crow. How did that end? Civil rights. How did that end? You got how you gonna get it done? You need 220 congressional votes, right? How did anything get done ever in the U.S.? Advocate for your community. They come begging you for your vote. They come to your schools. They come to your churches begging you for your vote. They come to your um, media platforms. Weaponize that. Leverage that. All right, it's simple. Start there. You're on the right side of history. You're on the right side of righteousness. You're on the right side of humanity. Lean on that and keep it moving. This does not stop you from watching basketball. This does not stop you from going to church. This does not stop you from going to school, going to church, going to your job. It's not stopping you from learning how to play an instrument, or it's not stopping you. I can't. All right. Number 3, the U.S. government can't afford to pay reparations. The U.S. Treasury isn't ran off taxes. Also, the U.S. is a sovereign monetary nation who is no longer on the gold standard as of the 1930s, when this it was during the FDR administration. All right. Number 4, that's coming out of the taxpayers' budget. No, it's not. U.S. Treasury, it's not based off tax. The U.S. Treasury is not based off taxes. That's just not true. All right. Number 5, education is why the racial wealth gap is so wide. The income, especially the wealth stats by education and race, shows that has not helped. I have the charts. So everything here that I'm saying, I have articles from the likes of NPR, PBS, USA Today, New York Times, CBS, the History Channel. The data is coming from the Federal Reserve, the IRS, the Department of Labor. So, anybody want links or articles or screenshots? Basically, where you have to type in the title. Shit. Also, everything that all my screenshots, the title will pull it up. Pull up the article. Number 6, Negroes don't work hard. Evidence of the contributions despite the obstacles in the 400 years that they've been in the U.S. shows that this is far from not true. No U.S. citizen, Caucasian or Negro, especially for those who have been here 7 generations more, will not be able to outwork an immigrant coming from a third world country in their first gen. So whether that's on some labor type stuff, for an example, a construction worker, road construction, or any other labor, or someone's pursuing their degree. Those immigrants who come over here to pursue a degree, you're not gonna outstudy, Caucasian or Negroes. Generally speaking, here, for the most part, the average 80% of the immigrants versus 80% of the U.S. citizens that's been here 4+ generations is not gonna outstudy an immigrant coming over from a third world country coming to pursue their degree. They're gonna work harder, study harder, ask for less pay, consume less entertainment, consume less, participate in less entertainment, participate in less consumerism, live on campus, not worried about an apartment off campus. So they're already graduated. It's not the same. So don't just put that on Negroes. It goes for all U.S. citizens. Number 7, there are poor Caucasians also. Correct. There's always been poor Caucasians from the beginning of the U.S. during Jim Crow, also during chattel slavery. There's been poor Caucasians, but they didn't go through chattel slavery. They didn't have to go through Jim Crow. They didn't have to go through COINTELPRO, for an example. They haven't been interfered and undermined by the U.S. government. Also, on average, the median Caucasian wealth is $134K, whereas the Negro is $11K. All right. Number 8, class policies will fix the racial wealth gap. Not true. Also, if I got 8K and you got 3K, and then we was both given by the U.S. government 7K, that would put me at 15K and put you at 10K. That's not closing the racial wealth gap. This would probably be, all right. Number 7, politics is not how you improve wealth. Well, every group of people get welfare and subsidies, including the rich. Politics is the science of who gets what, when, where, and how. Politics is the distribution of how resources are allocated. Politics is the science of who gets what, when, where, and how. Politics is the distribution of how resources is allocated. Government is the game. Politics is how it's played. Policy is done through politics. All right. So actually, you could say that. Technically, you could say policy is how the distribution of resources are allocated, and politics is the science of who gets what, when, where, and how. Actually, but either way, policy is done through politics, as in it's not done through arts, not done through science, it's not done through entertainment, it's not done through sports, it's not done through fashion, it's done through politics. So there's no way around it. Okay, we're here to give restorative justice, to deal with the economic injustices. We're talking about humanity, we're talking about righteousness, nothing more, nothing less. Negroes have fought for the U are the only group of people who has fought for the U.S. in every one of their wars since the U.S. has began in the 1700s. All right, so we're gonna go over a few more things here. We'll be almost done. In the 1930s, the Public Works Administration built segregated housing in cities across the U.S. that never knew segregation before. In the 1940s, the U.S. government bankrolled a mass migration into the suburbs. The Federal Housing Administration subsidized single family homes outside of central cities for Caucasian families only. In the 1950s, industrial plants left urban cities. So with that, so we're not talking about affordable housing. Affordable housing means you don't own the house you're living in. It's not a pathway to home ownership. This right here is talking about pathway to home ownership, subsidized by the U.S. government for a particular group of people, where they was able to build wealth, and then that wealth was able to be used as assets and through the property tax that you're able to acquire um, the value in your home. Those taxes was poured into the school systems. Now you're able to have structured and safe and organized and secure school systems and healthy and stable school systems for the children to learn and develop. Negroes didn't get that. They got the opposite. So their school systems were just jungles. The U.S. became the wealthiest nation on earth off the backs of Negroes through their free labor. Negroes built the U.S. in return got food stamps with no father in the home as a stipulation, and in return after being locked out economically through discriminatory practices. Negroes advocated for policies that allow immigrants get into the U.S. at a much higher rate. So yeah, Negroes advocated for policies that allow immigrants to get into the U.S. at a much higher rate. Immigrants aren't cattle into coolie highlight school systems for an education in the U.S. like the Negroes were and are now currently. Immigrants mostly only know the surface level of the true history of the U.S. And so they come over here with a certain mind state. They disrespectful and of the light through the lack of information, or just they just don't care. Immigrants always compare their elite to the average freeman. They don't compare their elite to our elite or their average to our average. Black immigrants come to the U.S. with that same failed tribalism, the ones from Africa. Yeah. Back to the education. When I say immigrants aren't cattled into coolie highlight school systems, whenever you have a group of people that's predominantly in a district. Obviously, if you live in just a mixed area or Caucasian area or Negro area, then yeah, if you're in the Negro area, yeah. But if you in a specific with a specific group of people, they're not set up by the government, the states. It's the authoritative government of the states, and it's ran by the cities. So yeah, but it's not intentionally underfunded and intentionally no oversight, um, bad faith oversight. For a group of people that the U.S. is consist of immigrants, indigenous, colonizers, and slaves. Each reparations justice claim is a specific lineage towards a specific government. Each reparations justice claim is a lineage towards a government. Now, if you need definition of a government or of a lineage, that's something else. We got to break out a dictionary or something for you. If someone asks what's the cost of reparations, ask what's the cost of redlining, convict leasing, Iran-Contra, benign neglect, COINTELPRO, Jim Crow Reconstruction, Homestead Act, and GI Bill denial. Because Negroes didn't ask for it or come up with the idea. Ask what's the economic effects of those policies on the Negroes. How about that? Try that. When JFK got shot, black immigrants was 1% of the black people in the U.S. So, what was you category? What have you been classified as this whole time? What's been on your driver's license? History. What's been on every driver's license you have? Every time you had to renew your license from the beginning, you've been getting driver license and state ID. What was your classification on it? What is your classification on your birth certificate and the birth certificate of your parents and your grandparents? JFK got shot 50 years ago. Less than 60 years ago. What is your classification on the census, U.S. Census? So all that information is not hard to obtain from the U.S. government. Your classification on your birth certificate and on your driver's licenses and on the U.S. Census data of you and your people who are related to you, your brothers and sisters, your parents, your grandparents. The brothers and sisters of your parents. We just talking about the last 60 years. What have you been classified as? Because not too many people was running to the Negro line. So if you in that classification, now at that point there's a 99% chance that you were a descendant of chattel slavery here in the U.S. Wasn't much immigration. Wasn't too many Negroes going in and out the country before JFK got shot. To visit or moving, like as far as to move as far as living, moving to live and moving to live in. All right, so let's stop with with all this trying to break out 4 calculus textbooks that you gotta solve every page of. 4 different calculus textbooks here. All right, so. Not, if you fall through those classifications, 99% of those people, just from your birth certificate, driver's license, and census data, will tell you that you're a descendant of chattel slavery in the U.S. Simple and plain. Time's up. 9/11, never forget. Pearl Harbor, never forget. The Holocaust, never forget. Chattel slavery, forget over it. Jim Crow, forget over it. Redlining, convict leasing, Iran Contra, benign neglect, COINTELPRO, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, Homestead Act, and GI Bill denial, forget over it. Each of these policies was either signed off or sanctioned by the U.S. government. The impact, each block either the wealth building capabilities or the nuclear family structure of the Negro by this government interference. These policies are redlining, convict leasing, Iran Contra, benign neglect, COINTELPRO, Jim Crow, Homestead Act, and GI Bill denial. And you got Reconstruction. So you're talking about like 7 policies and 2 programs. These people were denied the ability to build wealth like every other group of people that was here or that came in later. Or if it didn't do that, it interfered with the family structure. Like when you at the bottom here, then you add which is dealing with the nuclear family structure. Then you add welfare stipulation: no father in the home, only on them when they apply for food stamps. After being economically deprived to where the point a large number of your group of people would need food stamps, then to get the food stamps, you can't have a father in the home, you can't have a man in the home. As a stipulation. And if you do, they take your food stamps away. Picking on the poor. Then you got police escalating the interaction of U.S. citizens when they are Negro. They're not doing this to the immigrants like that. To the same degree, or to any degree, damn it. Voting tactic. This is a good one right here. Vote every year, city, state, federal, primary, general. Only select who the candidates who have a history of standing on tangible, specific policies for the U.S. for the U.S. citizens, particularly the ones in your community, as opposed to Wall Street. Make every candidate earn your vote. If you're going to ignore my community, you don't need my vote in order to do so, and therefore co-signing it. When you vote for someone, you're co-signing not everything that they're doing, but you're pretty much co-signing the way they've been treating your group of people, politically, policy-wise, particularly policy-wise. So with that being said, what voting choices do you have? Well, I'm glad you asked. Jonathan and Melissa. Yeah, so don't just not vote. That way you're not disenfranchising yourself by not voting. The onus is on each candidate, not the voter. Now, there are multiple options you have to make sure those candidates are earning your vote, not only during that election, but the upcoming election, because now they know that you can't just pick 1 and 2. These people are paying attention. They opting for option 3, 4, or 5. The 3, 4, and 5 is you can leave any slot blank on your ballot sheet. And for every position, the county clerk commissioner, the senator, the city council, the governor, there's an empty slot for each position as there for a reason. For every election, every year, every slot, every position, there's an empty slot right there. It's there for a reason. We don't use it. It's in your face. You see, you just got 2 choices. All you got is 2 choices, but then you break out the ballot sheet You got more than two choices every time, every position, every year. You liar. You make those. You make that candidate earn your vote. You make that candidate earn the vote of your people. You make that candidate earn the void of earn the void the void the vote of the youth of your people. How about that? Stop being weak. Stop being dumb. Everything. Make them earn your vote. They lose that election by 2% and 3% for the third party. Now they got that person who lost gotta learn their lesson. You can't just come with the BS. You can't come with the minimum. If I see a girl I like, and of course I've been on the road for 20 years with my own vehicle, I can't just point at a dude at a bus stop. If I want to get her phone number, I got to be funny or smell good or something. I can't, whatever. But I can't. What I can't do is just point at the dude at the bus stop and think I'm gonna get her number. Now the girl feeling you, all you got to do is smile, blah blah blah. Okay, cool. And then that's just what did it. But just pointing at the dude at the bus stop is not gonna do it. A candidate just pointing at the other man at the second option is not good enough. Oh boy. You can leave any slot blank, pick third party, or do write in to show we mean business. Voting is free. Okay? In 1 year it costs you $1 and it takes 1 hour out your year. So it doesn't cost you anything. It's only take an hour out your year. You got a whole year, 365 times 24. Yeah. It's a lot of hours. Out of those, you got 1 hour out of those 365 times 24. It, it don't stop you from your career pursuits or your business endeavors. The, the very same votes that come to our communities begging us for in our media platform. We've been a subverted group of people. Reparations will do a couple of things. It will increase the number of people into the middle class. It will lower everyone else's tax burden. And it will improve the U.S. GDP. All right, so I think that's just about it here. Then we about to close up shop. All right, stop sharing. I'd like to thank everyone. Wanted to make this video as short as possible. We had to get all this information. This is a lot of stuff was very basic, but majority of our people, the majority of U.S. citizens, don't grasp this concept. Particularly, my group of people has grasped this concept the least, because at least other group of people has grasped this concept to some degree, or a large majority of people. All right. Hope you guys have a good day. I try to tell the information less pissed off as much as I could, but it was hard. The more as I was going through it, the more pissed off I was getting. Salute. Enjoy your